I'm Charlie Simons here on Do Not Talk, talking to the people I'm never supposed to talk to, right? Talking about two things I'm never supposed to talk about, politics and religion. Talking to people like Sam Anthony from yournews.com as I turn to him because of he's media. He's media, as am I. That's all I've done all my life, radio and television. And he's more on the print side of things. And he's got a news platform that has just been taken the internet by storm. Is doing extremely well, thank God, as well it should. And I said during the whole COVID shutdown, it became very clear to me that we're going to have to start building our own platforms. We're going to have to start building our own way to support each other, lift each other up, get information to each other away from mainstream media. Mainstream media is right now acting like they're playing nice, but they're not. Nothing's changed. They're still wicked. They truly are. And even social media. When Mark Zuckerberg showed up at President Trump's inauguration, sitting right there with all the other big social media people, and they're going to be kinder and gentler towards conservatives. And that was a lie. In June, or actually early July, they deplatformed me completely. Meta did. Took away all of my Facebook pages and my Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. Never forget that. YouTube has put me on notice several times. I have 2 strikes against me now. One more, we're pulling everything. That's owned by Google. Never forget that. You can't even trust social media. So I've been saying all along, we better start building up our own platforms. And that's what Sam Anthony did. We're going to talk about that, but we're also going to talk about this. How effective the alternative media has become. Did you ever hear of somebody named Nick Shirley before this whole Somalia thing broke and what's going on in Minnesota and the graft and the fraud and the crime and everything else? Little old Nick Shirley, nobody knew who he was.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going. What do you guys think about the fraud that's taking place here in Minnesota?
I don't think anybody is enabling fraud to happen.
Hold Governor Walz accountable for this.
What was this money spent on? 1.26 million. What was that money spent on? There aren't any kids.
Answer the question. Are there children? There's no children inside this building.
Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the US taxpayers' expense. And in this video we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked.
On the mainstream media versus the alternative media, who does Sam Anthony think is going to win in the end? I think I already know the answer, but we'll find out together on Do Not Talk. Ready? Hit it. Nick Shirley. Nobody knew who this kid was. And then all of a sudden CNN starts acting like they know all about him, that he's all anti-Muslim, he's anti-Islam, he's an Islamophobe, and he's anti-immigration and everything. Well, he doesn't even have that much of a history. He hasn't even posted that many things, but he took a camera and a little handheld microphone and showed up at these different child care agencies, like the child Leering Center. They left the N out. They're going to be teaching learning to the Somalian kids, but they don't even know how to spell learning. That's quite amazing. And it's in the billions now. And Tim Walz and the whole Minnesota House of Cards is just like falling down around them now, isn't it? But that's not the only place. That's not the only area. California's next. I truly and strongly believe, and I hope my own state finally gets called on the carpet for all the fraud and abuse that's going on here and wasting of our tax dollars. But I feel like I'm a little bit vindicated when it comes to, now that I'm part of the alternative media, that little old Nick Shirley went out there and broke this story, and look what's happened. Look what's come of it. That's huge power right there. That's the actual power that the media should have. That's the stuff that the media should have been reported on all along.
CharLee, they don't have any more people working for them anymore. Okay, I've got over 5,000. That whole thing is diminishing. It's disappearing before your eyes. I mean, all the money is moving to alternative media, and people like Nick Shirley are the future. You're the future. I mean, it's all going to be independent news reporting. This is so simple. If there was anything that was in your face, this is it. The legacy media is not going to survive because they're an antiquated product, no different than when was the last time a horse and buggy picked you up, CharLee? Okay, let's just call it the way it is. It's all going in a different direction. So the future of news will be people like Charlie Simons, or it'll be Nick Shirley, be independent news reporting. Now, just because the only reason you know about Nick Shirley is because what he happened to stumble into was in the billions. Okay, it was absolutely in the billions, and that's why it made national news. Other than that, if it was something local that wasn't that big of a deal, I mean, that was a story like a local,
we would have never known.
Well, you wouldn't have known him, but people there would. Okay, so I'll give you a perfect example. I have something going on right now in Pennsylvania. I don't remember where. I believe maybe it's Bucks County or something like that. But I have independent journalists that are writing about a specific individual that was a politician. And I didn't find out about this until I get an email with a threatening email that he was going to sue me. So the first people I reach out to is, hey, is what you're writing, is this all legitimate? Because if you're putting out BS and you're slandering them, well, I have to take that stuff down. So all three of us were on the phone, and they're like, Sam, this is all public information. Everything he's complaining that he wants down is all public information. He goes, the fact that he has two DUIs is, I got that from public information, right? So, the point is that without these two people, these individuals, the public may never know this stuff, but they're digging and they're finding stuff. And that's what journalism was supposed to be. And years ago, it used to be, until they were all swallowed up by big conglomerates, and you had, 5 institutions that were all controlling the narrative, and, people that were reading off a teleprompter. There's no real independent journalism anymore. So what we do will become the next mainstream media, and it'll all be independent news reporting by people that were never in the business year before. Like Nick Shirley. Did he ever go to journalism school? Is he like no, you don't need to. I mean, I realize you probably went to broadcast journalism school, right? Since you've been in the business for a long time, but I bet you any amount of money on YouTube or any of these radio platforms, 99.999% of the people never went to broadcast journalism, right? It's just the way technology is today.
It is a huge, huge win for what's good. Frankly, I forget right and left. It's what's good. It's no longer a battle of Republican versus Democrat. It's good versus evil. And that was wickedly evil, what was going on in Minnesota. But now we got to start, we as in our alternative media, my brothers and sisters, we need to start knocking on doors and bringing stuff in and to people's attention about what's going on in their areas, because that was so prevalent and so well ensconced during the Biden 4 years reign of terror during the Otto Penn presidency that it's rampant. It's everywhere. Even in red states, I believe there's this kind of stuff going on, this fraud, because it's on a federal level, isn't it?
Well, see, this is my point, CharLee. I always told you there's 2 ways to win this war. One is through a revolution, and the second way is through controlling the press, right? Because, people believe what they read. Yeah. However, I figured out a third one, and that is take the federal government and completely shut it down from ever being able to give a nickel to anyone for any reason whatsoever. I look at anybody that's in government, they're bank robbers. They're basically they're the mob. They're the mob in DC. And if you cut off the bank and you shut it down, all of them will leave. The only ones that will stay are the ones that are actually trying to do good. But when they can't spend a nickel and they can't launder money through NGOs and give it to these people and end up getting kickbacks back to somebody else. I mean, that's all these people have been doing. They've been stealing from us for years. and somebody's got to put a stop to it. So
We don't need the federal government running absolutely everything. That's the last thing we need, and that's not how this constitutional republic was designed. Why do we have an NEA? Why do we have an oversight of all education all across the country? Because we say so. No, you don't get to do the power, and it's all fueled by money. But I believe that President Trump is cutting off the finances of these places, and we're just going to see them collapse, aren't we?
Well, you will, but I really believe it needs to go further. It needs to, once you eliminate their ability to get their hands on any money, watch who walks out. There's absolutely no reason to be here. I mean, why do they need to give money? I mean, this is stuff that the states should be doing. And by the way, if the states want to rip you off and they want to destroy the whole state, let them. Okay, what'll happen is they'll vote new people in, and once all the money leaves, then what do you do? So the federal government needs to stay out of all this stuff. They
will vote new people in if we don't have rampant fraud that's stealing away every single election in my state of California, which is where hopefully the federal government will step in once again. What's the federal government's job ultimately, but to protect the citizens, right? Yes. Whether it's from graft, corruption, or illegal things going on, drugs, crime, sex trafficking, so on, to protect us from all that kind of stuff. But other than that, we need to pare that down. We need to shrink government, for heaven's sake. Things are happening now that I didn't think I was going to see, and I'm so glad, though. I'm so grateful. But can they last?
Well, listen, I agree. I think a lot more needs to happen. It seems like everything is moving so slow. I mean, we have, the House, the Senate, you got the White House, and for some reason, they're not passing voter ID laws. I mean, why is anybody not doing this stuff? That's what kind of blows my mind. And the only thing I can figure is they don't want to. So they're just hoping Trump terms out, and then they could start back with the crime spree.
Exactly. That's
the only thing you could figure. So Trump needs to do something about this faster than that. I don't. I mean, obviously, I'm not privy to what the hell this guy's going to do. He didn't call me and tell me he was going to go snatch Maduro. But look, I honestly think these people need to stop spending money. There's no reason why they need to give money away constantly. There's zero reason. Every state can figure it out on their own, right? And that's the way it should be. The only reason they did it is because it just adds more jobs and more bureaucracy layers and gets the ability to be able to keep people paid and voting for them. That's the only reason they're doing it. Yeah. At the end of the day, this thing needs to be run like some kind of homeowners association, right?
Yeah.
That's how it needs to be.
That's a good point. Yeah, we need some HOAs in the United States of America. I'd love to say that I was expecting what happened with Maduro being taken out of his own country. We snatched him away from one of their military bases. It was a 30-minute operation. Got in, got him and his wife, and boom, you're coming to the U.S. and you are going to face a prosecution for or charged with crimes against the world. For heaven's sake, I never saw that coming. I was truly stunned by all of that, but man, was I pleasantly surprised. What was your reaction?
Well, when I woke up, I see these articles, and it was an hour, like it was I think it was Saturday morning, right? And I was up early and I see this headline. I went, are you freaking kidding me? So I put the headline into Google. And the earliest one was like an hour, like mainstream media is just publishing this stuff. I'm like, holy crap, this is accurate. Let me read this. So there wasn't much info. It's just they snatched them out of there, more information to come. And I just went, you got to be kidding me. So, I mean, it's amazing to me that Trump is doing all this stuff. Everybody always talks tough. This guy just does it. I'm blown away at it. And, look, I had no idea Maduro was the head of a cartel. I didn't know that. I just thought he was part or assisting them or help. I didn't know he was actually the leader of the cartel.
And very, very involved in the election fraud that destroyed our elections in 2020. Which tried to do it in 2016.
Yeah,
but very involved in that. Yeah, a lot of those voting systems. It was all through Brazil, wasn't it?
Yeah, and so it's going to be curious to see what kind of plea deal he gives if he could give up information that is credible. That of course, how do you overturn an election that's already over and it's passed? I mean, but more importantly, if he comes up with valid information, how could they change it? Because it seems to me that these people don't want to change it. There's a lot of people that are resisting. Your state, for one, certainly, Illinois. The only reason they don't want to change it is because they need to have the leverage to be able to keep in power so they can continue to steal more money. That's all this is. It is a money laundering scheme that all they're doing is taking money. I mean, I saw something this morning where it wasn't 8 billion, it's 18 billion in Minnesota. Okay. Did you see that? 18 billion. These were Fed standing up there saying, look, this is not the $1 million question. It's the $18 billion question. How much of it was fraud? So some of it certainly could have been going for what it was intended, but probably, 50% plus was not.
Thank God for Nick Shirley taking his
And
camera
there
and his
you
microphone,
go.
knocking on those doors. Thank God for him.
And that's why I keep saying, Charlie, this is where everything is headed. The mainstream media is obsolete, even if they were telling the truth. Do you really think these news outlets have the people to go into these places and find this stuff out? And, even if they did, the technology today allows somebody like Nick Shirley to be able to go out, report on something, and put it out on the internet and distribute it. And that's where everything is headed. So it's all going to a people-powered press. Look what I've got going on in Pennsylvania right now that they're trying to bring me into. He's threatening to sue me. I'm like, look, I'm covered under Section 230. So, the guys there say, don't worry, we'll handle this. I'm sure he'll probably do something to me, and we'll figure it out. But as long as they're not lying, then this guy doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Right. Well, let's talk about yournews.com.
Sure.
How do we get involved? How do we find you? Where do we go? And what if I want to be the next Nick Shirley?
Yes.
How do I utilize you?
We need 1 million Nick Shirleys. Okay. We have CharLee, which is Nick. Okay. We need another 999,999. So to be a if you want to be, if you're already out in the community, you're proactive and you want to start reporting news. And by the way, it doesn't have to be breaking these stories that, just like Nick Shirley just did.
No.
This could be the city council meeting. It could be the school board meeting. It could be the high school football game.
You get an opportunity to cover the stuff that the local newspaper used to cover.
Yeah.
Anymore. I mean, isn't really covering anymore.
Remember you had the local news always had like a food and wine section. They did restaurant reviews. Okay. Well, somebody goes to the restaurant, has a meal, and then writes a review about it. Mm-hmm. We're just like that. So it could be local events. I mean, and then for people who want to cover, like we have, I think it's next month, the Honda Classic coming here, right? Golf. So if I wanted to cover that story, I would go out and get media passes from them. I'd have to submit for it. And I'm here to cover the event. I need 2 tickets for whatever. I would be able to get out there and cover that event. If somebody wants to go to, I don't know, we have the Kravis Center here in West Palm. So if somebody wanted to go there, get us, they have, different entertainers that go there. You just have to submit your information of who you are and who you write for. And this is why it's always good to have content on your page, because if you're doing entertainment reviews and you've got, 50 articles of other things, they just let you in immediately. You get into all this stuff for free.
I'm seeing more and more showing up as seen on yournews.com. I'm seeing more and more of that.
You have,
which is exciting. Yeah. So
there's almost 5,600 content creators right now. So I have local news all over the United States. The stuff that's coming in is getting overwhelming. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger, which is what this is all about. So going back, if somebody wants to be a local news reporter, you would go to yournews.com, go down to the bottom of the page, and then there's something there that says become a citizen journalist. A couple videos that are 1.5 minutes, and then if you like what you hear, you fill out the application below, and then once that comes in, you'll get activated with instructions on how to use your dashboard. It's simple.
And here's one more prompt for you. If you're like me, a journalist or a media guy, or even just somebody like Sam says, I like that restaurant and I want to let people know about it in my area, and I'm not going to bother with the local paper because nobody reads it anymore anyway. You can literally be just that hyper local just by putting in your zip code, wherever you are, if you just want to see news in your area, and then go back again to see everything all over the country or the world or the state. That's what's so exciting about it. But he monetizes. There's your prompt.
Yes.
He shares with you some of the and some of the ad revenues that he brings in from yournews.com. So that's a good little incentive right there too, my friend. So thank you very much for doing that and doing what you do. And is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't cover?
Well, we made headway with this. So, so for your audience, we're doing something called an equity crowdfund, which is, it's not like a Give, Send, Go or GoFundMe. It's an actual done through a brokerage firm, and we're raising capital for this, but we're doing it not through like individual investors. And the reason for that is institutional money is kind of easier money to get, because these are all people that are looking for the next Facebook. They have the funds and they're looking to deploy the money. They have to deploy the money. But the reason we're in the mess that we are in today, CharLee, as you know, is because of the media, right? It's because it's owned by 6 institutional players. So for me, getting 2 or 3 big investors to fund the whole thing, even 6, you're back to right where you started from. So we decided to do it through, through an equity crowdfund, which means the people get to own the product. And so normally, the way, if you're buying a private placement, you can never buy a private placement if you're not an accredited investor. But through equity crowdfunds, everybody can participate. It just limits the size of what you could put in. So we have investors that put in $200 and everywhere in between. We're pushing the $500,000 mark, and this has just been over the last year, right? A little more than a year. But we're and this one's only 1.2 million. So I will get this one done. As a matter of fact, CharLee, I'm going to go on record as saying, I bet you in the next 90 days, I wouldn't be surprised if it's all completed.
That's exciting. Good.
Yeah. And so
get in on the ground level right now. You want to invest in a media platform that is truly the future. You'll find it at yournews.com. And again, just scroll down to the bottom of the page and you'll find what does it say? Become an investor, or what does it say?
Oh, it says invest, and then you could read about it. This one, we're doing this round followed up by a different one, which is going to be at a much higher number. So this one was, kind of priming the pump to, put the gas in the tank. So, by the time I fund this one, we'll be good for, call it a year and 3 months without ever getting another nickel to keep scaling, but at a larger pace. So like today, I've probably picked up 4 or 5 news reporters. Well, imagine if we went from spending $1,000 a month to $15,000 a month, what you're going to get, right? Yeah. You probably get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a month coming in. It's a whole different animal, which means, current amount of content we bring in is a couple thousand a week, which is a few hundred stories a day. And, imagine that at a few thousand a day, right? And it's, and we have room for, I always say, this is a guess, there's 20,000 cities, a little less, but it's almost 20,000 cities. So 50 people a city is 1 million people. Some cities obviously don't need 50 people, but I can assure you New York needs more than that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and there's so much room here and so many different verticals that, if you're a content creator or you're somebody that's proactive in the community, and here's the best part, CharLee, you don't have to know how to write. You just have to know how to take notes and put the notes into AI and tell AI to write you a story.
Yeah.
And use these notes. And once it gets it the way you want it, then you publish.
Right.
I do it all the time because I tell, I say, can you polish this up a little bit? Because it doesn't sound good. I kind of talk like I speak, but it just polishes it up. And once you like it, you can send it off even for.
So it takes out all the cuss words.
It takes out all the cuss words, yeah, and it dresses it up and makes you sound better than you really are.
It just sounds smarter than you actually are.
Yes, I sound smarter, but literally anybody can do this. People always say to me, I've heard a bazillion times that artificial intelligence is going to take over the media industry. No, it's not. Not until the Terminator could walk into the high school football game and write the story. You still need boots on the ground. The only thing that artificial intelligence can do is search the web. And if other people wrote a story about that game, you could get the game results. Then you could get it. But you need those boots on the ground. Artificial intelligence could have not broke the story that Nick Shirley did. Never in a million years. Okay.
No.
So it's always going to be boots on the ground. And those boots on the ground are going to be the ones that cover those stories. And then somebody can, grab that stuff through AI, but it's really, it's guys like Nick Shirley that are breaking the stories, and those stories could be broken on a local level. There's plenty of crime going on in everybody's city, right? All you got to do is dig through the dirt and you'll find it, right? Or, CharLee, we have city council meetings, school board meetings, every city in America, right? And what are most people doing? They're at work, and then when they get done from work, maybe their kids have to go to soccer practice or football, or they're doing something with the family. Who has time to go to these city council meetings or school board meetings? That's where the media comes in, because they sit down, they take all the information, they put out an article, and you could find out the next day what happened at the school board meeting. What the hell do you think I'm doing? Right? This is it. So you could be the person that reports back in the community. And the best part is, this is all going to be your neighbors that are doing this. So everybody's saying, oh, we can't trust the media. Well, you can trust your neighbor if you like them, right? You have an audience of people that follow you, right? And those people trust what you say. And if you make a mistake, you'll always correct it. But those people already trust you. So, you already have an audience of people. And just like on a local level, if you trusted your neighbor and she sent you an article that she wrote, you would trust her, right?
Yeah.
This is what happened. So that's where it's all going. All this news reporting, that centralized news, is all going to eventually be decentralized, and it's going to be democratized. Everybody has the ability to be able to report the news. That's where it's all going.
Amen. All right. Thanks, buddy. Great to have you on the show again. Let's do it again real soon.
You got it, CharLee. Good to see you.
You too, partner. And there you go, yournews.com. Take advantage of it. Make it a part of your everyday thing, checking what's going on. Forget the newspaper. Forget turning on television. Go to yournews.com. You'll see everything right there. And if you just want to find out what's happening in your local area, put in your zip code and that'll pop up too. I love that. That's the future. I really believe that. It has to be, because the mainstream media is owned, like he said. There's about 5 or 6 huge corporations that are deciding everything that you see, you listen to, yes, radio included, and you read. They're deciding it for you. And believe me, they don't have our best interest in heart. That's for sure, at heart. As evidenced by so much of what they've done over the years. I'm glad to see them failing. I'm glad to see them going away and withering on the vine. That makes me happy. And thanks for supporting this show too. And you can do that at charleesimons.com. My website, CharLeeSimons.com. You can get yourself some merchandise there. Click on that merch store tab. If you want to give, there's ways to do that too. And thank God for Give, Send, Go, the nation's only Christian nonprofit crowdfunding group that I'm on there. You'll find me at givesendgo.com/do-not-talk. And you can feel good about helping support not just me, but any other kind of alternative media like that. We need you. We need your help. We really do. Most of us, this is costing us money. We're not making money off of this. So I thank God for people like Sam, who shares with the profits that he makes, and Give, Send, Go. I thank God that they're there, and Venmo and all the other ways you can give to help support this show at charleesimons.com. CharLeeSimons.com. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America, bless God.